Steve McQueen, the king of cool, makes his way onto a wing foil board. Yeah, I mean the graphic, it's a lot of fun. But on to the more important thing, the board itself. What are the things that I liked and didn't like? I'm going to start off with the things that I didn't like. I like to end things on a positive note. So first off, a little bit about this board. Dirk describes it as a board that's good for wing foiling, sup, or even kite foil. I would be interested to see someone on a kite with this 6-foot board. But yeah, I guess you could do all those things. The board measures out to 6 feet long, 23 inches wide, and its thickest point is back here at 6 inches. And this is quite a tail back here. I do actually like the hydrodynamics of it. We'll get into that in a bit. But the board itself, it has glass, flax, carbon, and Anegra fibers. So the way Dirk described it is the Anegra is a super strong fabric, synthetic fabric, and it does add strength to this board, but it also adds some weight. And we'll talk about the weight in a minute. The handle here, it's an FCS handle with a gore vent, and on the bottom, we have these 16-inch Chinook tracks. They're actually really nice. I like the length and placement of the tracks. Okay, so let's start with the things I didn't like. Just starting at the top here, the handle being on the deck. Now, this is something that you see a lot of sup boards. You'll see a handle on the top, especially with the length of a lot of stand-up paddle boards. This one is on the top for a wing foil board, and I'm not sure it's the best spot for it. Two things. So first off, the placement of it seems kind of far back. So when you hold it, it is a bit nose heavy. So the placement there is a bit awkward. And then when you're walking out into the water, typically you'll have your board upwind of your wing because you don't want your foil going through your wing. So if I carry the board like this, well, then the foil's behind me and it's on the side of my body that I don't want it to be on, which is the wing side. So I would have preferred to have a handle at the bottom, probably right about here would have been nice, forward of the tracks. That's a pretty standard position for a lot of handles. I will say though, without having a handle on the bottom, I think it does help improve some of the hydrodynamics. The board itself is pretty heavy, coming in at about 20 pounds. The board, just in comparison, if you look at something like the Cabrihna Crossfly at 6'2" and 111 liters, which is just 1 liter off from this guy, it's about 4 pounds lighter. And I will say with my Cabrihna Crossfly, I have put a lot of dings in it. I swear, if I look at it wrong, I crack that that very beautiful finish that it has. So there is that. This guy, he took some impacts from my GoPro 360, from myself, and other things, and there's not a single ding on it. So this is absolutely built like a tank from that perspective. And then just also to kind of compare numbers, my Cabrihna code comes in at about 7 pounds lighter than this guy, but that code is only 5 feet long, 78 liters, right? So there's a pretty big difference. But just to give you some numbers for comparison, the deck pad, this material right here is not super grippy. And so that was one of the things I kind of had a challenge with. And then there's a lot of deck here without anything that's grippy. And when it's wet, and if you're not wearing booties, then your foot is really sliding around in that area. So for me, when I was out riding, I had half my foot on this, which again wasn't super grippy. There are very shallow channels in this padding, um, and so not too grippy. And then my heels, they were pretty much sliding around on this stuff. So I would say for another iteration of this, either extending this material out closer to the rocker, or even just swapping out the material altogether. I think that would actually be a um, better alternative. Just have different material, maybe something like this diamond pattern material, which was amazing, by the way. So you see this kind of deck pad like on surfboards. Um, it's pretty typical. There's a ridge here to support the arch in your foot and to help give you some grab on that back foot, and that was great. This back pad was actually really great, but up here again, that was pretty challenging. The other thing too, just talking about this handle, I did get my toes stuck in here once, and that definitely did not feel great when I was flying off the board. I don't know how I did it, but my foot slid in there, and so that was uncomfortable, to say the least. Okay, this tail here. This tail again, it this whole shape of the board is helping you gain speed to then get up on foil. That's great, and that's part of the reason why this tail is so sharp. Um, but when you're off the board and you're climbing back on, it is a little intimidating. Every time I fell off the board, I do the typical protect your head sort of scenario so that if the board slings back or something, you're protected. But I was really nervous about this. The more I rode it, the less nervous I got. But I also like to climb on the board from the back. I know some foilers, they'll approach the board from the side. I don't. I guess maybe for me it's a holdover to surfing. So I'll basically put my hands up here and pull myself onto the board. So this tail didn't get in my way. It was just different, I guess. It was interesting to kind of have it so tall and sharp back there. After I got used to it, it wasn't a big deal. Okay, the things that I like. Well, first off, the thing's built like a tank. Like I mentioned, this thing, it can withstand the impacts, the small accidents that happen, whether you're getting the board out of your car or putting it back in, walking it to the beach, all of those different things. It's fantastic for that durability. I would definitely say it's a 10 out of 10 for that. The other thing too is the shape of the board and the stability is just fantastic. So when you're standing on the board and you're plowing through those waves, um, this nose shape, along with the volume that you have, just placed in all the right locations to keep you balanced, it's fantastic. Dirk had mentioned that when he designed this board, he designed it in CAD, and then it was, the core was milled out, and then he glassed it over, and that's pretty fantastic. So definitely a little bit of engineering in here with this artistic flair. You can see that the way this bottom is shaped, we have a nice point there, and then everything is well rounded and curved. So again, just kind of busting through those waves. Fantastic. This really is a cruiser. Obviously, it's a little bit on the heavy side, but I didn't really feel like I was fighting the swing weight. Um, with the way your foil is positioned and your center of gravity once you're flying, everything feels very balanced. There's almost this equal amount of weight front and back. So if you're just carving through those waves, or even doing a little bit of pumping, this board pumps very well. I was surprised. So on this day that you can see here, winging, and the winds anywhere from 12 to 18 miles per hour. So those gusts, I was using those to get up on foil. I think we did have some gusts in the 20s, but I'm on a 4.5 meter duotone unit, and just had plenty of power to get up on this thing, and to just enjoy the ride. Kind of enjoy that sunset wing session. And so that was really nice. The takeoffs are very smooth, and that's one of the things I noticed right away. So I could just sit there, kind of hold the wing out in front of me, and the wind's taking me, the board's building speed, and I just take off. So there wasn't any pumping that I needed to do. If I wanted to pump, I could pump, and I could get up right away. So yeah, that was really nice. And I've mentioned this sharp tail a couple times. So again, there's some things that were a bit weird about it, but at the end of the day, I could definitely tell, when I was looking at the back of the board as I was gaining speed, the water, instead of big eddies and things that you typically see on a wide flat board, you didn't see that with this board. You're cutting through the water comes right back together at this very sharp point, and you just start building speed. And that's, again, one of the things that we're seeing with the skinnier, longer boards, is just that ability to build speed quickly. Tracks are fantastic. They're long, lots of opportunity for different foil positions based on the size of the foil that you're riding on. So my optimum was back here, and yeah, I mean, very sturdy, strong tracks. I never felt like I had an issue with them. And that wraps up my review of Dirk's Steve McQueen board. Fantastic board. Really enjoyed my session riding out on this guy. And here's some extra footage for you.